We're going to call the Blackstone Millville Regional School District meeting for May 8th to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, the Secretary, Monique Samar, is not going to be here. She's going to do the minutes off of the cable broadcast.
Great. Introduction to members.
Hi, I'm Steve Tringali from Millville.
Brian Faulkner, Millville.
Georgette Jarrett, Blackstone.
Morgan McCarthy, Blackstone.
Thomas Gallagher, Blackstone.
Diane Robin, Blackstone.
Wendy Greenstein, Blackstone.
Erin Panaco, Millville.
Terry Davis, Superintendent of Schools.
Bill Chaplin, Blackstone. We'll move right to the report of the student representatives.
You're all set. You can go first.
So, for me, the seniors only have 11 days left, so we have tomorrow and then 2 full weeks, and we're done. We're getting everything finalized for like graduation, senior week, the class trip. For the class trip, we have about 90 kids going, which is great. That's a majority of the class. Before April vacation, Students Against Destructive Decisions had their annual mock accident, or they do it every other year, but they had the mock accident, and that was great. I know they had help from the fire departments in Woonsocket, Blackstone, and the Blackstone Police Department. That went very well. And then we had prom over April vacation, which was a big success for the class. We had about 210 students and about 15 chaperones. And from what I hear, everyone had a great time, and the venue burning down didn't really set us back that much. And today we found out for graduation, our keynote speaker is going to be Melissa Randall, who is Mr. Tupin, the technology director, I believe, at the high school's daughter. She's a newscaster for Channel 6 in Rhode Island and an alumni of BMR.
Nice.
So she'll be speaking at graduation.
Okay. Well, I usually have my little phone with me, and I'm, like, prepared, but Thomas just texted me, like, 10 minutes ago, and he's like, oh, our meeting's at 6:30, and I was like, oh, my God, I completely forgot. So what I do know is the softball team right now, we just beat Sutton yesterday, so now we are 4 games away from districts, and we have 6 games left, so we're really cutting it close this year. The boys are 1 game away from playoffs, so that's wicked awesome for them. And we have 3 games next week, so we're hoping to win at least 2, but hopefully all 3 games so we can clinch our playoff spot. The NHS had an ultimate frisbee game on Friday last week, the last 2 periods of the day. We raised over $550. All the money went to Jake Gallerani's ball field that is being donated to him in Uxbridge. So that was a huge turnout and a huge success. So it worked out really well for us to represent the student athletes. And also the NHS has their induction coming up next week. It's Thursday, starts at 6 and ends around 8. Our keynote speaker for induction is Ronald Bebo will be speaking. The Woodwind Choir is performing, and I will be singing. So, if you can come, it would be appreciated.
Awesome.
Otherwise, I mean, there's not much going on right now. We obviously are coming down to an end of the year. I just went on a field trip today with the advanced gym classes, and we went to a rock spot in Lincoln, so we all went rock climbing.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The Wind Ensemble and Concert Band have their last concert for the year on Saturday, May 17th at 4. And it's like they give out the senior and undergraduate scholarships for camps and stuff and for colleges. And they'll be awarding like the jackets that you've given us. And after that, there's a spaghetti dinner to benefit the BMMA. It's I think it's $8 a person to get in, but it should be a good fundraiser for them for next year.
Awesome.
What was the date of that? Sorry.
Saturday, May 17th, next Saturday. The concert's at 4, and then the dinner starts immediately after, so probably 5:30.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Any other questions, comments? Brian?
Yes, you said everything was prepared for graduation?
Yes.
You got the weather all set?
It's going to be sunny.
I was in a stuffy gymnasium last year. I don't want to do that again, so take care of that, will you?
It's going to be sunny.
I'm going to build a dome, actually.
There you go. Yeah. We'll be under the dome.
In front of the
Okay, under the
school.
dome.
Get going.
Oh, good luck, you guys.
Thank you very
You've
much.
done
you.
well.
Good job.
Continue to do well and prosper.
Thank you very much.
We will.
Is this your last meeting? No.
Well,
No,
we'll
there's
see.
one, the
There's
20,
one
the
more.
22nd, right?
One more, okay.
If they show up. You know, the
They'll
short
show up.
timers.
What's the date?
That's when we have the party for you.
Okay,
We'll have
then we'll be here.
balloons.
Have to get a cake.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Good job, guys.
Go Bruins.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I can't wait to go watch it.
Student activities?
If I could, Mr. Chairman, let me introduce Mr. Dudak, the high school principal. The committee had asked to have some presentations, so I asked Mr. Dudak if he could reach out to some of our student activities, and he has some students with him this evening that will be speaking about 2 programs that we're quite proud of. So, Mr. Dudak.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to thank everyone for welcoming us here. We do have 2 groups that would like to present a little bit about their programs. I told them to keep it brief. I first would like to congratulate our 2 new school committee members, Ms. Jarrett and Ms. Is it Reggio? Reggio, okay. I was trying to ask for pronunciation beforehand, and I couldn't get it. So again, congratulations and good luck. I was recently asked again from Dr. Davis to have a few of our activities highlighted today, and I was overwhelmed with the amount of enthusiasm of students that wanted to come out and really highlight some of our programs. Those 2 programs that we have that we'll be talking about today comes from our engineering and technology program, our robotics class, which is a new elective just this year. We do have high numbers for next year for our robotics program, so we're looking at possibly 2 sections if made available. We also have our theater arts program that is here, and that includes another elective that we added in our English department, which is our literature through performance class. So they'll be talking about that today. I just want to stress what our vision at the high school is, and essentially, just to put it in simple terms, we want all students to be able to experience relationships, a realization that they are students that will learn and will succeed, and rigor and relevance in the classroom. The reason why I bring that up, because these students experience all of these different aspects in the classroom, and that's why they're here today. Again, I was overwhelmed with the amount of students that wanted to come out. I had probably about 7 or 8 hands just raised when I walked into the literature through performance class, and I said, I don't need 7 or 8. If I can get 2 or 3, that would be great. So again, these electives and these programs all incorporate what our high school vision is of building relationships within the classroom and outside, looking at relevance and rigor in the classroom, and a realization that we can all succeed. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask our theater arts students to come up, and I think they have a little presentation for us all. So why don't you bring some seats over and come on over.
Thomas, you hopped into that group?
Yeah, I'm set group too.
So why don't you just quickly introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Brenna Hall. I'm in the Literature Through Performance class, and I'm also the director of the drama club at the high school.
I'm Mariah Carpentier. I'm in the Literature Through Performance class.
I'm Thomas Gallagher still. I'm in the literature through performance class.
Hasn't changed, huh? Lyndon Davis in the Literature Through Performance class and a member of the drama club.
So this year we've been studying plays throughout history in literature through performance, and it's really interesting to just be focusing on plays because we get to see history through the eyes of playwrights instead of just people who are writing novels. It's a different kind of English class. And we also get the experience of acting out during class and acting out the plays. And we've touched on literature in Greek mythology and what was
Shakespeare.
Yeah. Shakespeare. We did realism and what was Hedda Gabler? That was realism, yeah. And right now we're working, we touched on Pygmalion, which was from, what was that
It's
from?
an English play from
English
the 19th
play, yeah.
century.
And we just ended a
Streetcar Named Desire, which is American literature. So it's really interesting to see different parts of history just from plays.
I know for me this was a different English class because I had never really stepped out of that comfort zone in class and got into acting things out in class, but with this group of kids, and most of them are in the drama club, and I'm one of the few that aren't, and it's kind of nice to be in a different class like that and have people who are really excited about that. It makes the plays and things we read just so much more interesting and easier to follow, because sometimes you'll read a play in a regular English class and it's like it's all monotone, but like people get into it in this class and it just brings like the actual meaning out in the play, I think, and I think that's a very important thing to realize what these plays actually mean instead of just reading them.
Mm-hmm. And it's also been really nice to study like the Shakespeare and the Greek, because it's harder to understand just on a literature basis, but when we go through it in class and read and act it out, it helps a lot in understanding it.
Yeah, and also as a member of the drama club, I think reading those plays where the original plays, really the Greek and Shakespeare, helps you understand how plays are written and how they progress, and it kind of helps you out as an actor to know what to do. Mm-hmm. So the class has been very helpful to all those in the class, like stepping out of your comfort zone, or members of the drama club improving their acting.
And also, drama club has been going really well lately. We're in our 4th production as a club. Right now we're doing Alice in Wonderland. It's going to be on May 22nd and 23rd at 7 o'clock in the BMR auditorium. So we'd really like to see a lot of people there. It'd be really great. There's a lot of talent in the production.
So again, when we're looking at these programs and electives, when I came on board last year, we didn't have a theater group, and I think we had somebody, right? There was somebody that approached me. Was it? So we had someone approach me in the office and said, we'd like to really just put on a performance, and we had a sophomore at the time that actually wrote a playwright and wanted to actually perform that in school. So that was the first of the 4 performances that are currently going on.
Yeah, it was the second.
Oh, second.
Yep,
I'm
we
sorry.
did A Christmas Carol, and then
right.
Jacob Adele's play All
Then
Are Judged,
Aladdin.
and then Aladdin, The
And now
Skull,
Alice.
and now Alice in Wonderland.
And I think that's been growing over the last
Yeah,
couple
we started
years.
with like 10
8.
people, each
Yeah.
having like 3 different parts in the play,
Mm-hmm.
rapid costume changes. That was fun.
And now we have over 40 people involved, so it's really exciting to see that grow.
And we've tried to adapt the theater arts in the classroom with that literature through performance class that we presented last year, and we were able to have Miss Callahan, who's a wonderful English teacher, be able to introduce that to the students and really just take it to a place where there was nothing. So it's a new curriculum, it's a new elective, and we're looking for it to continue to grow. And it's an avenue, it's an outlet for a lot of these students, and they really thoroughly enjoy it. It's one of those classes I like to go in and walk through and do my observations, because I'm learning more than they probably are at that time. So, do you have any questions about that theater arts? Or?
I think it's great, because it's definitely, like you say, it's interconnected with the period of history that you're going through, and I'm a big visible learning buff, and it doesn't get more visible than that, so I think it's great, and I hope it continues to grow. So it's 1 section now, Mike. It's going to go to 2.
So literature,
Full year
Potentially?
class.
so literature, it's a full year.
Advanced credit.
Advanced credit, and right now we have it at 1 section.
How about next year? You're going to do different plays, obviously, and how many you have planned for next year?
I think she has the same. This was kind of, I know she was trying to like hash out what she was doing, and it would kind of go like we decide kind of together on what play we were going to do next, or she'd come up with a play. But I think she's planning on doing the same thing next year, maybe changing 1 or 2 of them. But I know we all really enjoyed the curriculum this year, so it was plays that some of us, I know Henrik Gibson wrote one of the plays, and I read another one of his plays in 10th grade, I think, or creative writing. And so it was kind of nice to read something else that he wrote that was different, and it opens you up to different things. I hadn't heard of a lot of these plays until we read them in class.
Yeah, it was also relieving to read a Shakespeare comedy as opposed to one with a lot of So, yeah.
And this elective, it's for juniors and seniors. So when we're looking, and we do have, is it mostly seniors, or are we about half?
I think it's about half and
I
half.
think
About
there's
half and half.
16 kids in the class, and I think there's 7 seniors.
Mhm. I mean, if we had that luxury of being able to offer a lit through performance 2, or something that was a little different for students that were current juniors that wanted to take it next year, that would be a wonderful opportunity. But again, I'm not sure where we are And currently, we have about 15 students that are enrolled for it for next year. And we're sort of in that beginning process of choosing courses and making sure that all students have their electives and English credits before they graduate.
Excellent. It's awesome.
Good. I just want to mention that it's interesting, the plays that you picked, the diversity of the plays, not only from, you know, the writers, but also the times in history. And I can guarantee you, as you get older, you may not remember everything from all those plays, but you will remember the parts that you acted out. That's a great thing to bring with you. So congratulations. Sounds like you've all enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Great job. Great job.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Keep it up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Text me the score of the points. So the next group that we have is our robotics program. Mr. Pilling is here. He's our instructor. He is a first-year teacher at BMR, and he's done a phenomenal job getting our robotics program together. And I believe we have, is it 2 or 3 kids? Students? 2. So Mr. Pilling, are you coming up, or are you just, we're going to let it, it's a student-centered? All right, student-centered. I believe they have one of the robots that they worked on, and again, we've had a limited budget, and I had to gain permission to get some funds for this, and it's all you.
All right. Well, this is one of our 3 robots that we have. We originally had 2 robots, and actually, was it 1 robot that we had originally?
Yeah.
It was 1 robot that we had, and then we scrapped up enough parts to split it, and then we ended up getting another robot, a donation, and then so we have now 3 robots that we could use, and we have 1 competition robot. This robot we're using now to design for a competition that could be done next year, because every year the competition changes to different ways of scoring. And
Where is the competition? Where is that?
competitions changes to they're at different schools, and
Where was it this year?
BVT?
yeah, the one we attended this year was at BBT.
And you're only competing in Massachusetts? Or do you go?
No, they're all over the
They're
country.
all over the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends how well you do, you kind of move up. So,
Again, this is the first time, first class, we got into a competition, how long, when was that first
It
competition?
was in October.
It was in October, so we were literally in school for
1 month.
4 weeks, 5 weeks.
Great.
And where did you guys place? Do you guys remember at all?
It was like 11th out of 20-something.
So we were
Yeah, we
about
didn't do
half,
bad.
so we were
Yeah.
at
Job.
50,
You're in the middle.
50th percentile, so.
And I'm sure all those other programs were working on it the year before,
So-
going into it, so you guys coming in, yeah?
You guys had a month to put it together, and you came in.
Mhm.
You beat more than half of them. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great experience to be able to design a robot to do something, and then you have to build it, and then there's the part where you program it to do what you want. There's a bunch of different aspects of it. There's the building part is actually probably the easiest. It's just a matter of finding a way for everything to work together.
well, the beginning of this year, being the first year of robotics, I'll tell you right now, I did not pick this class in the beginning of the year. I was just put in this class and didn't know what to expect. The first day, I remember, this is going to be really bad. Programming, not going to be good at it. Building, I only build with Legos, so I don't really know how this is going to go. In the first day, Mr. Pilling back there said, you know, a lot of teachers can just go through PowerPoints after PowerPoints teaching you, you know, everything you need to know about robotics and get nothing done at the end of the day. The first day, we actually opened the starter kit and worked right on the robot. And I enjoyed that a lot. And then the following week, we started to going into the programming. And a lot of kids, myself, like the building part, and then they get to the programming part. And then that's when kids are like, ooh, I kind of don't want to do that. It's going to be hard and boring. Well, we use a program called the EasyC program.
And really, it's very simple. It's all it is whatever function you want, a motor or a sensor, anything like that. It's a simple drag and drop. You click on that function, and you can edit like any of the numbers, say the power, the way it rotates, anything like that. And then after you're done, you click build and download. You plug it in to you move this and you plug it in right here, and then it will work. And there's two parts of the program. There's autonomous, which that part is you basically create what you want this robot to do. So whatever you input into the program and download into here, it will do. And the other part is operation control, and that's with this controller. So really all you have to do is make sure there's a lot of buttons on here. And so you program the buttons according to the motors on here, which have numbers. And then, you know, there's going to be, like, say button 1 is for the right side of the tires. That could correspond to one of these buttons or something like that. So you have that. And then to make it fun, Mr. Pilling, every week he would set up a challenge for us to do, an autonomous. So we would actually have to program the robot to, say, start at one corner and go all the way across the room and pick up a paper tube. And that might sound easy, but it's really not. That took a long time. So then after we finally got the programming down, we knew competition was coming up. So basically we, as a class, thought of ideas of what to do. And one of the ways to help us figure out what to do for the competition is we did a Goldberg machine, which is just chain reactions. And and the rule was we had to use 5 simple machines, and that basically taught us more of like how to design the robot, like how to use like levers, and we actually had to modify the base and use 3 wheels on each side to get over the ramp for the competition. And so, as you know, we did pretty good in the competition. We actually had to take this whole arm off because the robot was tipping over, and we had to actually use a plow. So then after the competition, we did a little troubleshooting, and we decided that, okay, we need the research. We want to come in first place. We're here not to lose, but to win. So what we did was we spent a few weeks researching, and then as a class, we wrote down everything we researched, and we decided which designs were going to be best. So what we came up with is we came up with a scissor lift, which this is not our competition robot, but it's a lot bigger, and it would give us the height we needed to get the larger balls, which were on our rack. And another thing we had is a hopper, and it'd have rotators that would intake the balls and then spit the balls out. So that was very effective. The hardest part about this whole finalizing a competition robot was just getting everything perfect. The gears had to be perfect. There had to be enough torque. The wires had to be connected the right way, and it took a lot of time and effort to make it all come together. But overall, I thought it was a fun experience. I mean, you get to work with people, and a lot of classes is all about, you know, you just have to follow instructions. Always, every single day, just class after class, following instructions. But in robotics, it's completely different. You get to just sit at a table, discuss, okay, I'm just going to build whatever I want and just make it happen. And then it's just wonderful. You can do basically whatever you want. And then there's a few things that we didn't do this year because of lack of time, but there's things like you can add sensors and all sorts of stuff. It's a very great class, and I recommend the class to go on for years, because, I mean, if I wasn't a senior, I would do it all over again. So, yeah.
Again, this is minimal costs to the district. We squeeze funds just to get this going, and there's an extreme interest for next year. Right now, it's a robotics 1 class, but we have, I believe, right now currently 38 students that want to take this course, which
For
would mean
next
that
year.
we would need 2 sections. With,
How many were in it this year?
you know, 18, 17?
18 to 20.
Was it?
Yeah, it was about like 20.
So we had 20 in there, and that was our cap. So we couldn't do more than that with what we had. So we have 38 students looking to take this. So again, so Kyle's a senior and Isaiah a junior.
Yeah.
Right?
So how did you get to your competition?
We just
They hopped on one of the robots and got them.
It was a Saturday. It was a weekend, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
parents or
So
self
Yeah.
or
They
whatever?
either drove
you
themselves
drove
or
or-
parents got to BVT. And my first, just personally, and I'll be quick, my first experience with robots was probably 4 years ago. I was judging at a science fair, regional science fair at WPI, and all these people were going over to the gymnasium. We were in this little sort of foyer area in one of their student center lots, and I went over thinking there's a basketball game going on, and I could spend a little time over there. There's this huge robotics competition with kids from Oregon and Washington and Worcester, South High, and it's a great class where kids are thinking outside the box, and there's analytical approaches to it, and it's definitely something that they enjoy and want to do and continue to do. So.
It's great. It's outstanding.
I know you only took 1 course in it, but has it changed your thinking and what you want to do in the future at all? Like, are you guys thinking maybe this may be something you want to do more of at Westfield or wherever?
Yeah, maybe I'd join a club or something. I don't know. I'll see how it goes, but it's definitely tough though, even for only 20 kids, when you have like 2 or 3 robots, because you have only like 3 groups, and like there's a lot of kids in those groups. So it's we'd like to have more robots if possible. Especially next year. I know there's supposed to be a lot more kids, and there's going to be 2 classes, and we just had only 20 kids in 1 class, and the 3 robots was tough enough, because, I mean, to be honest, 1 robot should be maybe paired up with like 2 to 3 kids, and we had about like 7 kids working on one thing, and it was kind of tough because we had like you can only have like 2 guys, like so many people doing one thing. I mean, we had 2 guys working on one thing, and then we had people working on programming, and then there's just kids there like they want to do something, but they really can't because you're only working on a limited amount of robots. So
That's a great point. I mean, you know, it's a wonderful reminder of why we're here. You know, to fight a little harder. So, anyone, any other comments?
I think it's a great class to teach problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think as educators, we're always looking for, you know, a way to, how we going to get students ready for the real world. And I think, you know, it's a fun class, but it's also teaching problem solving. It's also teaching, you know, how to work with 7 people and accomplish a task. So I think it's great.
Well done.
Nice
Well
job.
done back
Thank you.
there.
Mr. Cully, he's hiding.
You can't hide from us.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I'll let you know how the Bruins are doing.
Yeah, thanks.
You gonna get a demo of the thing?
Yeah, I
Is this
want it.
working, or-
Gonna go across the room or?
Is that operational right now?
Yeah, put that back in.
He's up close.
Crank it up.
We paid for the whole show.
No, we didn't.
can you
They
try
had
it?
to raise
Does it
their own
work?
funds.
Yeah.
No pressure though, huh?
Doesn't work, that's okay.
Oh. So that little arm thing can pick up something? And what does a robot cost? What does a robot cost?
That robot right there costs about $600.
No kidding.
Yikes.
Can that robot make lunch?
See if you could pinch Erin Vanaka's
You know
toes.
what they're expecting it to do for next year's
Make me a
competition?
sandwich.
You know what, you have the outline.
Week and a half ago.
Are there different levels of competition, or you just?
They have middle school and high school separate,
Uh-huh.
but they kind of try to combine it, so that way all the different levels can work together.
At the competitions, do they say, you know, this is what I need, this is the problem that I'm having, and they have to come up with a robot to complete that task, or are they just given, you know?
Well, there's one competition per year, so they work towards that goal of competing in a competition. And when they go, it's when you like have a baseball tournament, you're playing for your baseball team. You don't help anybody out. When you go to a robotics tournament, it's like you're not by yourself. Everybody kind of jumps in and helps each other, and there's a section of it that's you set up alliances, so you actually have to work with other schools. So it's a great community
Sure.
builder.
Yeah, again, during the competition, I mean, we actually had to take the arm off because it wasn't getting us any points, so we actually had to modify during the game.
Right.
What was the challenge, specific challenge at that contest?
It's hard to explain. They change it every year. Last year they had a trough area where there was bean bags, and basically you have a set time limit of how much you can score, and the more you score, the better off you are. But also the other team can de-score and take points away from you. So it's a whole strategy game that you have to work around, and you have a coach that's with you, kind of like telling you what you need to do, what you can't do. Try to make the best out of what you can do. But this next coming year is kind of picture a PVC in a cube. It's completely hollow in the center, and there's areas of up to 48 inches, and they have to actually lift those up and get them on top. So, I mean, a robot that small, you have to figure out how to expand it. And the maximum size is an 18 by 18 by 18 box that the robot has to fit in at the beginning of the competition to qualify.
That's great.
Yeah, we're working on that now.
Awesome.
Good job.
Well done, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck as an owl.
Okay, moving forward, school committee, FY15 budget.
That was fun.
We'll get back to the robot.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We just stick with the robots.
Couldn't they stay a little longer?
So our FY15 budget, we need to talk about how we want to recertify our budget. I'll do a brief update on the Blackstone Board of Selectmen meeting was this past Tuesday. I attended. Short and sweet, they voted 5-0 for no additional investment in the schools. And that's all I'm going to say about that right now. So we were disappointed, but now our task is to how do we talk about in terms of how we recertify our budget in terms of from the original. If you can remember, the original certification of our budget back in March was a ceiling. We now need to talk about how we want to reduce that and then present it to both towns at each of the town meetings.
Again, we have people in the audience. People need to understand, our budget is one item. It's what the town pays, which is called the assessment, that is really at play here. It's what the town would vote at town meeting for the purpose of assessing the tax base in that town. Because our budget is only up 3.4%, but our assessments to the town are up over 18+% because of the revenue shortfall created by revenue that was one time last year, that we don't have this year. All right, so it's a complication of understanding. And when Mr. Chaplin said the selectmen voted, we were requesting an additional contribution towards the assessment.
Right.
Towards the assessment. So it's two concepts, budget, but now we're really talking about assessment. And in order for us to balance, we either get new revenue or we have to reduce the budget. Those are the two variables in this discussion.
So what we have before us is 3 scenarios. We have a scenario to recertify our budget with asking for Blackstone to contribute $300,000, and Millville to contribute $118,000. We have a scenario where we ask Blackstone to contribute $400,000, and Millville to contribute $158,000, and I'm not saying the exact figure, but it's rough enough. And Blackstone to assess $500,000, and Millville $197,740. And each of these scenarios are also part of the discussion is going to be does the school district provide $150,000 out of our E&D fund, which is really not the smartest thing to do, but we understand that at a good faith effort, we could do that and still be, this committee is committed to not going below $500,000. By contributing that $150,000 from our E&D account, we would go probably closer to $400,000 into next year. So I'm going to open it up for discussion. It doesn't really, I don't think we need to go through every scenario in terms of what the budgets, what the cuts are going to be as a result. There are going to be cuts no matter what. It's just a matter of how much. We were asking for, if we were asking for half of what we were, the assessment, we're looking at $500,000 and $197,000 from Millville. That means there will still be budget reductions of $618,000. And then it just gets reduced, as the assessment gets reduced, the budget reductions go up in terms of the cuts. So with that, I'm gonna open it up for some discussion.
If I could just add, the reductions, any one of those items is interchangeable.
Right.
All right? Where I drew the line was really based on a leadership team meeting, but obviously the committee can move things up and down, right? Up and down. They're simply, this is not a list that you've seen it many times, but the reality is, you know, I simply, working with the leadership team, that does not reflect. I do want to also make one thing clear. Some of the items on the list are still in play. Specifically, kindergarten enrollments right now in Blackstone, definite, 79. 9 parents who've taken out papers have not returned it. This is well over a month late for parents returning that their children will enroll. So the number right now in Blackstone for kindergarten, we're projecting 5 sections, but it could go to 4 if in fact that number might go up plus or minus a few children. All right, plus or minus a few children. All right. So the reality is, even though something may be on the list, as your superintendent working with your principals, things will change based on the numbers as we progress further into this school year. As we see whether or not numbers are reduced, particularly in some of the grades, in terms of students either moving out, students moving in, or students parents opting not to have their child start in kindergarten. Also in kindergarten, there is this thing called retention. It happens not frequently, but it does happen, and it's one of the other variables that we're looking at as well in terms of that. So I just want to be clear to the committee and to the public that even though an item might be on here, come June 15th, that item may change. Why? Because the enrollment numbers have changed. All right? The enrollment numbers have changed. We're constantly having to scan the data, look at it, and make a decision what's in the best interest of the students based on the enrollment numbers in terms of where we are. Okay, so things are constantly being looked at.
So one of the things we can discuss now is how do we want to proceed and recertify. It's really one of these 3 scenarios. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to get any of this, and we still might have to cut 1.4 million. Okay, so just because we recertify at this, and both towns voted down, the voters voted down, then we come back and we have to recertify our budget once again with 1.4 million in cuts. So what's the pleasure of the committee in terms of discussion? Is there a scenario where someone is leaning towards?
That's a good question. So if we say scenario A, B, or C,
yep.
Does that mean we're still going to have discussion on the interchangeable items?
Tonight?
At a later time.
A later time, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I have a question, and I think, Steve, you might be able to answer this question, but BVT was asking at our meeting, I think as well in Blackstone, additional per child, an additional $1. How much was it? Do you remember?
They, yeah, it was a selectmen meeting a couple of weeks ago we had went to, and they had talked about the additional programs that they're planning, and they broke the figure down to $1.53 per student per day was the additional contribution they were asking for. I think that was Millville. I'm not sure if the Blackstone was proportional.
It'd be a different number, because it's different numbers of kids. There's
Yeah.
only 43
Right,
BVT
right.
kids. But I think if you want to go look at the BVT budget,
Mhm.
it's really just looking at what the contribution was last year,
Mhm.
what it is this year, okay, in terms of just regular increase, and then the vote, the additional vote that's happening is for 2.9 million expansion.
Mhm.
And that's an additional contribution that would go into the debt side of it.
Right. I guess I was.
That's what they're talking about. They're talking about that debt.
Okay.
Their budget naturally went up.
Mhm.
I think in Blackstone, it was like, what the Board of Selectmen recommended was, I think it was a 7.5% increase.
Again, it was their assessment that went up?
Yes.
Yeah. Assessment. And assessment for, even for us,
Mhm.
is driven by enrollment.
Right.
So Millville and Blackstone, every year, based on the October 1 enrollment, determines what the percentage is of the budget. So if we have more children in Blackstone, come October 1, that mitigates in the following year, the percentage of payment would be increased. So the shift this year between Millville and Blackstone was a little under 1%, 0.5%. Shifting to Blackstone based on the numbers of students enrolled in the district from Millville. So that floats.
Okay.
And that also impacts assessment, because that's the way the regional agreement is structured. Do that.
Will any of these scenarios require an override from either town?
We're not asking for an override from either town.
Well, actually, Diana, I can sort of somewhat answer your question. I went to the public hearing of the Finance Committee last night in Millville, and what they had done, nice complete document, by the way. We had the budget that they passed out and their positions and all the warrant articles, and they basically took their free cash and stabilization, and they kind of progressed through the predicted actions on the various warrants. And the bottom line is, at the end of all that, the way it was predicted out, Millville will have $273,000 in stabilization. So I think that's a factor in terms of what scenario we kind of select to go after. So basically, Millville's got 273. I'm not sure what Blackstone's situation is, but again, I think that is a factor as to what we're doing going forward.
But when it's presented, when the budget's recertified and it's submitted to the towns, and it's presented at the town meeting, do we still need to amend to say where we would get the additional funds from? We still need that piece,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
In Blackstone, you do. I know that's.
Yeah, and I believe in Millville we do as well, yeah. Okay.
But remember, based on the current information, you were at the
Right.
hearing last night, my understanding in both Blackstone and Millville is that the budget we certified in March,
Right.
the communities are making a commitment to their minimum contribution plus that exclusionary piece to get to the bottom line. All right? So we have two elements in our formula in terms of the minimum contribution, which is dictated by the state foundation budget, and then by regional agreement, some items are what are called exclusionary items, such as transportation is an exclusionary item in our agreement. Okay? So that's that's what the number that they're have factored in to that. Not these, what we're referring to as additional contribution, which would get us to address the shortfall in revenue.
Any other discussion, questions, comments? Does anyone have a feeling of what scenario they would like to recertify?
I'd love to recertify at the high end, but I think we have to be realistic. For the people who don't know, we have three different scenarios, and I would say the one is an additional $300,000 from Blackstone, which would proportionally be another $118,000 and change from Millville. And Jane, to answer your question, how would Millville do that? I mean, I originally had ideas of going through the budget and trying to cobble together 1,000
Right,
here,
right.
5,000.
I
But
did the same.
that's not really possible.
No.
It really isn't. The only, again,
Free
the
cash.
reason I brought up the stabilization amount
that's
is
it.
that truly is the only
That's
bank,
it.
reasonable bank of money that should be.
Yeah, I picked up this
Considered.
this morning and went through most of the day today, and I,
And-
Yeah.
50 cents here and $5 there.
That's not gonna get you too far.
Just remember, though, any movement from stabilization is going to require 2/3 vote, not
Exactly.
a
Correct.
51.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Steve, are you suggesting the scenario of 300,000 and 118,000?
Exactly.
Okay. Any other suggestions? Because I'm going to suggest the 400,000 and the
I would
118.
suggest
Yeah.
I split the difference, do the middle.
Yeah.
And just to kind of point out, as I looked at the budget from year to year, Millville's minimum contribution this year is $3,000 more than last year, which comes out to about the 500 students that they have. They're paying an additional $6 total for the year per student. Which I'm going to stop talking right now because I'm going to, so $6 per student for the year, from one year to the next. Okay. So I'm going to make a motion then, I guess, and go for the, to research, you have a motion after read?
Anyone else have
And,
any
yeah,
other?
I mean, we're still discussing, so.
No, I'm happy with the, I mean, obviously, I'd like to get more, but the middle of the road to me, the 400 and 158 is probably what I would be comfortable with.
But in essentially, what we're doing is saying that we are going to
Ask.
remove $737,000 from our original budget.
Say that again?
We're committing to,
Right, this
A
amount,
number of
yes,
cuts.
but we still, if this passes in both towns, this
We're
motion,
saving.
we are still making $758,000 and $455,000 in cuts.
From our
In cuts.
no, 737 or 757?
I have 758,
I have
455.
758, 455.
Yeah, just look on the page that's got the
Oh.
400,000
Yeah.
on it.
I think that you're going to
I
that
was.
line,
I was.
and, you know, at that point, you know, it's relative. But the motions that you would make, now, the committee's familiar with the document I passed out for those of you in the audience. Again, the regional committee votes a budget, then we have to apply our Chapter 78, our regional transportation aid. That went up a little bit. When the House passed its budget, they increased regional transportation. So I've gone up to the new number that we picked up, about 17,000 in regional transportation aid. And then the motions relative to your budget, minimum contribution, exclusionary money, then you apply your Medicaid, your interest income, your athletic and music fees, rentals, classrooms, extended E&D funds, that's new, that wasn't in our certification before, and you run that through the process. So you can see there are about 7 motions that have to be made to do this. And then in the back of your packet are the letters that are actually sent out to the towns, and then the infamous back page to kind of see how that works relative to that. And then, as we said, what is the deficit relative to the overall district in terms of looking at that?
So Perry, each of these are a motion, we have to vote on each individually?
Yes.
Okay.
You have 7 of them, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 motions. But just for some of you in the audience, it's the process of doing that. And again, what the committee has is a list of reductions to get there, but you are reserving that discussion, you know, that we would go back at a later date. However, you are committing to a number in the total budget that can no longer go up. That becomes your high water mark. Once you take your motion and you recertify the budget.
So, with that being said.
Diane have a question? No, I was just gonna start the motions. Oh.
Do you have more discussion there, or do you want to just go right to the motion?
I just want to find it on here. So our proposed operating budget would be $21,332,524.
Yeah, $21,332,524.
So essentially, that is $34,000 less than we operated on this year.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Just for the,
But even, just to clarify that.
I just wanted to make sure people
No,
know
but to clarify that even
we're
further.
going to run lower than we ran this year. And
But it's even more trickier than that, because we
I know.
contributed almost $1 million last year,
Right.
so it would be $1 million and 34,
Mhm.
however you say that right now. That's
But
what it
it's
would
just
be.
a point that when the town of Millville tells us to sharpen our pencils, that, you know, we weren't even increasing, we were at a deficit of 1.4 million. Our budget was only up 700,000 from this current year to next. So now we are essentially
Less.
going to operate less than we did this year, so.
$6.
And I'd just like to point out that
30,000.
Blackstone Valley Tech is getting a higher number. BMR is getting less. Again, I don't want to, pit BMR versus BVT. I just want to turn it more on the decision-making process
Well, what's hard
that was
about
made by the
that
towns.
is we're kindergarten through 12th grade. They're 9th, 10th, 11th, to 12th grade.
But,
So
but,
that's
but
hard.
again, I
And
don't want it to
they're-
be, us against them. I want to turn it more into the
Mhm.
decision that was made by the towns.
Yeah.
Well, it's really, and I'm going to talk about this later too, it's really a shifting of a mindset in terms of the budget versus assessments, like Dr. Davis said. And now I understand it's never been talked about in these towns before, but we have to start talking about it moving forward, because, we can't be a minimum contribution community anymore. And if we are, that's fine. Both communities say it out loud on both town meeting days, and we'll move forward.
I move to adopt the gross operating budget for the 2014-2015 year in the amount of $21,332,524.
Motion is read by Ms. Robin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Tringali. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Wendy?
Oh, move to assess the amount of $7,756,407.
No.
Am I reading the wrong one?
Second one.
Oh, sorry. Move to apply the following reimbursements to reduce said gross operating budget for the 2014-2015 year. Do you want me to read those out too? Okay. Chapter 70, $10,684,594. Regional transportation, $450,925. And school choice charter offset, $315,077. Above reimbursement total, $10,820,442. The total net operating budget for 2014-2015 is $10,512,082.
Motion is read by Mr. Greenstein. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Vanaco. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 I move to assess the amount of $7,756,474 to the town of Blackstone to be applied to the operating budget for the 2014-2015 year, which includes $6,313,167, sorry, for the minimum contribution, $1,043,307 in exclusionary costs, and $400,000 in additional contributions.
Motion is read by Ms.
Second.
Vanaco. Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Greenstein. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. I move to assess the amount of $2,441,608 to the town of Millville to be applied to the operating budget for the 2014-2015 year, which includes $1,870,811 for the minimum contribution, $412,605 in exclusionary costs, and $158,192 in additional contributions.
Motion is read by Mr. Tringali. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Robin. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Motion to, move to apply the following amounts to the gross operating budget for the year 2014-2015. Medicaid, $60,000. Interest, $4,000. User fees, music, athletic, $65,000. Rental of classrooms, $35,000. E&D funds, $150,000, for a total of $314,000.
Motion is read by Mr. Faulkner,
Second.
second by Ms. Ruggiero. Did I say that right?
That's a
Reggio.
Reggio.
Did I say Reggio?
An
You
extra
get it.
syllable in
Reggio.
there.
4 years from now, you'll.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Move to adopt a capital and interest budget in the amount of $330,196 to be assessed solely to the town of Blackstone, which includes $170,412 for the FWH Middle School, $108,706 for the BMR High School sewer connection, and $51,078 for the roof projects.
Motion is read. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
See how I took the names out of that one? See that? Last motion.
Move to adopt a capital and interest budget in the amount of $120,689 to be assessed solely to the town of Millville, which includes $67,394 for the FWH Middle School, $42,991 for the high school sewer connection, and $10,304 for the roof projects.
Motion is read. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions on the capital are identical as before, but in recertifying, I'm going through the motions of getting it all on the record again.
So the process now, Perry, with that is it's going to go to the
Tomorrow
towns?
morning, I will sign the letters, and we will get them out to the respective towns. We were in touch with the town administrator in Millville, because typically on Millville, the town offices are closed, and she said Monday would be fine, but we will deliver and drop in the box tomorrow at Millville Town Hall, the recertification letters, and put them in the mail, and have them ready for town meeting Monday night.
And so the Millville meeting is
Monday night.
Monday night.
Monday night.
And so it's important for,
Can you explain how that goes so that the parents or the people out there listening, the next steps, what needs to happen in order for this to take place? What meetings to go to, what needs to happen so that they're aware of how this is gonna, if this is going to happen?
So, I'm gonna try and you jump in. So for the town of Millville, their town meeting is Monday. What the citizens should do is show up at town meeting. What's gonna happen is, they're gonna go through their operating budget. When it gets to BMR education, Mr. Tringali is gonna get up and make sure that this amendment is read clearly the way we not the whole thing, but just the figures. At that time, he'll also have some places where to take the money. And then a vote proceeds to happen. The same thing would happen now for the residents of Blackstone. On Monday, their public hearing, Finance Committee public hearing, is where the public can ask questions about the budget. I would suggest many people show up there as well to ask questions about the budget, how they're spending their money, and when the BMR budget comes up, they can ask questions to the Finance Committee. There'll be Board of Selectmen there as well.
So it's important for them to get to the meeting to vote after that discussion.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Blackstone voters have to go to the Finance Committee meeting, public hearing on Monday, and then our town meeting is on the 27th, I believe, the Tuesday after the long weekend, and you must show up. Now, right now, there is going to be $750-something thousand of cuts. If you don't show up and vote and they don't pass these amendments, there will be $1.4 million worth of cuts. There is no way around that. And also to stay informed, we're certainly going to put out some information to all the parents in the district. That's going to happen right away. So they're clear about what the whole story is. I appreciate people having varied opinions from both towns and their concerns. I certainly want our collective ability to engage in civil conversations around how we move forward. That civil conversation is generally a sign of the strength of the community as well. However, I want it to be the complete picture and not sound bites. And I want it to be correct information out there of the complete picture, not just sound bites. And I'm going to get into sound bites later during my good and welfare from Blackstone Board of Selectmen meeting. But it's important that people know the complete picture. There is no other money that we're going to find, like in the past, that people assume. You have to show up and vote. If you don't show up, you get what you get. Because I'm certainly not going to come back here and say, let's recertify and ask again, pretty please. I'm not doing that. If voters don't show up, then it is what it is, and we move forward.
Are we still in the position, though, if one town supports a higher amount and one town doesn't, of having a super
Absolutely.
meeting?
We would explore what the law dictates to us, and we would move forward with that.
And I think it's important, too, to restate what Aaron said earlier. If we're going to take the money essentially out of stabilization reserve, whatever you want to call it, it needs 2/3 of a vote. It's not just, hands up, aye.
Right.
And something I want Millville residents to think about if in fact that's what we ask them to do, is to remember that that's not what we wanted Millville to do. We wanted Millville to present the voters with an override that would have funded education and many other things in the years to come in Millville. Because I do think there will be varied opinions on moving money from stabilization. That is not where we wanted Millville to take the money. That's a savings account. That is something you tend not to touch to, run your yearly budget. But it's almost being forced upon us to be able to take care of the little people. So.
And again, our job from the very beginning, starting way back in the fall, September, October, was to have an open dialogue, be transparent, and be really clear that we were going to be in a pickle this year. We didn't know what the gap was going to be, but we knew there was going to be a gap. And we engaged in those conversations, and this is where we are right now. We thought it was going to be a different result. We thought there was going to be different support from both communities, but we thought wrong, obviously, because both boards of selectmen voted unanimously to not do anything. So this is where we're at, and this board is charged with advocating for what the budget is, and that budget is clearly based on the bare bones needs of this district, and a little bit more to move forward with initiatives like literacy and like the programs that you saw tonight. In essence, how do we achieve academic excellence? And I'll just tell you, we'll never get there if the communities don't change their mindset. So why don't we move forward?
If I can, Mr. Chairman, so the committee understands. The action you've taken tonight, I need to now inform on Monday teachers that are currently employed in the district who do not have professional teacher status. All right? That is, they have not completed at least 3 years of employment in the district, of which there are over 60 teachers in our district who have less than 3 years' experience in the district. I will be notifying them on Monday that they will not be renewed for next year, because by June 15th, I have to do that. My reality is that with a town meeting on Monday and not another town meeting until the 27th, the resolution to this is clearly in doubt, and I need to give them notice. This list, obviously, all of these people are not going to be reduced, but the contract and the state law, there's now a tremendous amount of work that I have to do relative to personnel. And I've been transparent when I went to the schools, and teachers were sincere in saying, when would we know? And I feel now we know we're going to have to make some reductions. I can't identify who those people are, but in order to give you as a school committee the legal right to deal with people, you have to provide them that notice. It's a very simple 2-sentence letter. It's a very cold legal letter. I do not wish to do them, but I have to do it in relation to where you are with the budget, because it is not likely that we will have a resolution to your budget, and we will be getting dangerously close to that June 15th date in order to address that. But over 60 certified or licensed staff, they're classroom teachers, counselors, even school nurses are on this list.
So you have to notify all of them.
Correct.
Um,
Correct.
What about the paraprofessionals and,
I don't have that similar law that I have relative to teachers. So by contract, they would be made aware of the reductions, but I don't have a state law that says I have to do it by a certain date.
okay.
But I would be notifying their association and their membership that there will be reductions in support staff. Right?
I'd just like to summarize. Last year, I got up and spoke at our May town meeting in Millville about the stabilization account, trying to create the stabilization account in the town. That failed. By my count, as I stood there at the podium, I counted 6 school-age parents in the audience. 6. I went to the MESPA meeting this past Monday night. There were 8 parents there. I was at the FinCom public hearing last night to hear about the budget. Mrs. Haggerty and I were the only ones there supporting the schools. If we get that type of attendance at the town meeting on Monday, I think we know the outcome. Again, we need a 2/3 support vote in order to move any money into the lines for the schools. So I think with 6, 8, 10, 12, 20, we're going to need more like 100.
We need like 150.
So we're going to need probably an all-time record turnout. I know we're offering babysitting. The high school groups, the honor societies and things like that, they're offering babysitting at the school.
As well as some teachers.
some
with them.
teachers. Yeah.
Exactly. That's right. Some of the teachers who don't live in town, they're willing to come in from wherever towns they live in, Smithfield or different places like that. They're willing to come in. So don't stay home because, well, I couldn't find a babysitter. There's babysitting available. Again, you know, if you want to change, come and vote for it. If you're happy with these numbers, stay home. So, you know, it's really out of our hands at this point. It's into the voters' hands on Monday. So.
Okay, one more, and then we're gonna move forward.
So, based on everyone getting notified, can you just explain how it works, since the list we're looking at, and of course, we haven't determined this yet, is only
It's
a
off-
certain amount of FTEs
Yeah.
for the professional staff?
Right.
How will that movement happen?
Well, again,
If 30 people are notified or 60 people are notified, and based on our decisions, only
my
20
final,
are going to be
my-
reduced.
I cannot finalize that until the budget's done.
So after the town meetings.
Correct. So therefore, you know, I obviously, you know, need to be honest with people that they're, by state law, by contract, they've been notified they're not being renewed, which is different than being released when you have professional teacher status. And obviously, you know, it gives you the ability as a committee, through your superintendent, when the budget's finally approved, then I play the chess game with the principals, who in fact loses their job. It's no secret that the most vulnerable people are the people without professional teacher status. That is, they're in their first, second, or third year, based on movement in some of these areas. Elementary teachers are certified at usually the pre-K to 2, early childhood, and then 1 to 6. So the teacher license plays a role in it. Some people are not certified or licensed to teach 5th grade. They can only teach up through 2nd grade. So there's a little bit of chess pieces that go with it. And then at the middle school, there may be somebody at the middle school that is released, and somebody from the high school who has professional status but a license to teach at middle school. There's a little bit of a chess game that goes on with it. So, and then, you know, we have to look at, but anybody with professional status, you know, has that trump over people without. All right, so I can't give you a definitive, but I do think, I've been very honest with teachers. If you don't have professional teacher status, you are extremely vulnerable to being, and again, you're getting an official letter that you're non-renewed.
And the unfortunate thing in this whole situation, having been through it, and I'm sure some of us have been through it, is you lose good teachers. You lose these teachers, and you lose them because of this budget crunch, and you have to give them those slips, all those non-professional. Although you may call some of them back, it's unfortunate, but they need to look out for themselves and they need to go elsewhere and apply. So you have to give them that opportunity to at least look out for themselves, so.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. In the building I'm in right now, we sent those type of letters out to 9 of our staff. And we're not really sure how many will be laid off in the end, but already of the 9, 2 of them have come to me and said, I already found a job in another district. And it may turn out that they wouldn't have gotten laid off in the meantime. You know, we won't know until that budget passes, but the point is, they got the message, and they got themselves into a better situation. And they were some of the best teachers of the lot, and they're gone now, basically because of the letter. And I would imagine a lot of those 60 teachers will be scrambling. They're probably doing it already.
Yeah.
They've probably seen what's going on. And we will lose some good teachers, many, whether getting laid off or they looked out for themselves and they found another position. That will happen.
Okay. All right, so moving forward, consent agenda A. Warrants, use of school facilities, field trip requests, meeting minutes from April 29th. And
the executive session is a vote to retain because you're currently still negotiating with your support staff. That means the minutes would just not be made public until those negotiations are over.
Motion to accept consent agenda A.
motion made to accept. Is there a second?
A second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, somebody saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. I didn't do a public forum, so I'm gonna do that now.
Yeah, I had it.
Is that the first one or second?
I just had it on once at the end.
All right. We generally do 2, so why don't I just jump into a public forum if no one has any objection to that now before we go to the report of the superintendent. So our first public forum, if anyone wants to come up and share any thoughts, you certainly could do so now.
Or have
We are
any
gonna do another one.
Questions too?
Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Joe Raposa, Vice Chair, Millville Board of Selectmen. I'm one of the 4 angry gentlemen who can't be trusted to make appointments in town. And I was deeply affected by such statements that are appearing in the public media. But that aside, selectmen make more than just appointments. Mrs. Hegarty here approached me, and she asked that what do selectmen do? Well, basically, selectmen are the policymakers of the town and have a fiscal responsibility to the town. And we have to take into the interest of all town residents. And in Millville, coincidentally, the number of students enrolled in BMR school district coincides just about exactly the number of people in town that qualify for AARP membership. So it's kind of a balanced kind of thing. And, you know, small things, Mr. Trigali talked about, well, he looked through the budget. It's all small pieces. Financially, 2 years ago, it was a dramatic impact on our town. And the only reserve that Millville has at this time is the stabilization. We had to use the rest of the free cash. We had a tough winter. Snow and ice was hard, hard on us. And, and we're still concerned with seniors going to the senior center, able to get help with fuel assistance and things like that. So we couldn't overlook those things. The bottom line is, when push comes to shove, the only reserve that the town has is that $270,000 in its stabilization fund. I really, I want to see this go to town meeting and the town residents vote on it. So, I'm a little bit emotional about this whole situation, the way it's transpired. But the thing is, when all is said and done, and I can't fault anyone for this, and I'm not going to apologize for anyone, I wasn't very happy by the comport of the 22nd, the meeting of April 22nd. I didn't sleep the whole night. That's a personal thing with me, but it's really affected a lot of people. Emotions took over that night, and I was sorry to see that. I wasn't happy to see that.
In terms of what, Joe?
Pardon?
In terms of what?
The demeanor of the meeting and where it was conducted.
Oh, you're talking about when some of us came in, we were making the appeal for a possible 2.5 override?
Some of that emotion really stemmed from the fact that the warrant had been closed, and we were and it had been reviewed by legal, and we were 16 hours away from delivering it to the constables to post. If we didn't make that happen, we'd be off schedule for the annual town meeting.
But there had been a series of meetings ongoing from, I don't know, October.
Yeah,
so it wasn't as if it came down to the absolute last minute. I understand what you're saying. That was extraordinarily late, no doubt. I understand what you're saying. But it was not the first time the message
the other
was
thing
sent.
that really concerned a lot of people was that, an amount wasn't given. And I don't want to compare BVT and BMR.
I
don't want to do that, but
yeah, I agree.
BVT had the warrant in worded with the amount in the plan for the utilization of that. So that was an easy pass for them.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. So, I mean, I think, Joe, I'm not going to debate you on that day, okay? Because I was a Blackstone resident there as the chairman coming to your meeting, and a couple of the members were told to show up from the FinCon the week before. I will say that when I went back and looked at the video, okay, emotions did get high on both sides. But I will tell you that the professional courtesy that wasn't presented to us, to not even come to the table, okay, at the beginning of it, really set that tone, okay? And the tirade about going to Boston, and we should be in Boston, not in Millville, we do that every year in Boston, okay? So, I'm not going to go on a tirade right now, but Millville has a lot of their own house they have to get in order, okay, if they want to continue to service kids, okay, in the school system, okay, in a regional school system, okay.
I understand that.
And I know you understand, Joe, because you've been at about 30 meetings this year, okay. So to debate the demeanor of any meeting, I think you have to go back and check your own committee, okay.
Well, I didn't particularly target anyone. It was
well, you're here
the
targeting
whole
us.
group.
Okay.
Just in general sense, everyone in that room practically, from each side. My own statement was, I said, this problem isn't going to be solved here tonight, and I didn't say you got to go to Boston. Boston would be a solution. I said, we need to go to Boston.
Well, you didn't say that. I was talking about what the other person said from the very beginning. We weren't even going to get to speak.
Yeah, and I don't want to defend myself.
Yeah, I don't want you to defend us either, Joe. Really. Go ahead, Aaron. Go ahead.
I just want to, you just mentioned that you felt like it was late coming to the table, 16 hours to the delivery. But you were at the FinCom meeting that, actually, these two moms that are here, the three of us were at that FinCom meeting the Wednesday prior. You were there as a selectman, and we were told by FinCom to come to that meeting on Monday night. You knew we were coming.
Yes.
They told us if we wanted to be on the warrant, that's where we had to do it.
That isn't the question. I was there as a spectator.
I know, but what I'm saying is, we did what we were told to do, and that was the day that it was. So, I want to point that out, that we weren't behind the 8 ball. That's when we were told to come to that meeting.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, John.
So that's about all I have to say. You know, we both, the bottom line here is that, you know, that's all we have. The whole day before that 22nd meeting, I spent with the town accountant and went over everything. She says the only way you can do it is do override.
And that's what we were asking for.
Yeah.
That is
That's
what we were asking for
that night.
I know.
That's all, that's what we.
And I was about to do that, but I would, for that meeting for the 22nd, that's why I met with the, but it was a lose-lose situation.
But I think we had said also, I mean, you had said at the beginning that you'd like to let the voters decide.
Right, and still
At
do.
town meeting, and that's basically what we were asking for that night, is to let the voters decide via an override or not.
Yeah, in this case, it was, you know, it's 16 hours to post time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand.
I'd like to, as the interim superintendent, though, thank Joe Raposa personally, because you have always made a commitment to be informed. I think you hold the record for the amount of paper we've sent you on the budget, and you've always asked for questions or information. And your colleague, Rich on the Finance Committee. So there have been two very distinguished people from Millville that have tried to work with this committee, to work with me in the transparency of looking at the numbers. It is true that when we had our budget hearing on March 12th, we disclosed that impact. There was silence for about a month. What does this mean? And we kept asking for, you know, and then we had the joint meeting with Selectmen and Finance Committee members that we finally had to strongly request that people come to do that. And I know that wasn't your doing, but it was part of the frustration of this, quote, lateness of knowing. I think the transparency has been here, you know, and from my disclosure in October,
Yeah, I
we had a
agree.
revenue problem.
No question.
It's not a budget, we have a revenue problem. And, you know, I think the lesson out of this is the stronger need for a process that is connected with the region, talking more effectively with both Millville and Blackstone.
Unquestionably, it's going to be a
I want to personally
collaborative
thank
effort.
you, because I don't fault you, Joe. You have been here, you have collected the material, you and Rich have followed up with questions about where we are, and I think you saw very early on the dilemma that we had in terms of one-time revenue to reduce assessment. So personally, I do want to thank you, and I know many members of the committee respect you and Rich for making that commitment. You were many times the only ones in the audience as we were discussing this.
I also thank you for your support in advocating, you know, for the small town and what we face.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm Valerie Hargitty. I live in Millville, Massachusetts. And I do have some follow-up questions regarding the last school committee. Dr. Davis, you did a presentation about where some of the proposed cuts might come. And you said at JFK, are there currently 5 classes at JFK for each
Correct.
grade?
K to 5, there are currently 5 sections.
Okay. One of the questions I have is I watched last year's town meeting in Millville, and Superintendent at the time, Ms. Shaverhood, she said that there were 4 classes. I was just wondering is the school committee came up with that money to make it an additional teacher for each grade level?
We decided way before the town meetings that we were going to, part of the additional contribution we were putting forth, the $1 million that we put forward, was to add teachers. So that was way before.
There are typily 5.
Last year there was 4, but
2
we
years
increased
ago,
it to 5.
we
Right,
did
the
have
increases-
cuts, and we went to 4, and we restored those back to 5. It has happened before with the way of the budget, where they've gone from 5 to 4 and 4 back to 5.
Okay. So instead of, if it was already at 4 classes, you, as a board, decided to move some money from stabilization that
Nope.
you had, or E&D?
Our E&D, yep.
Okay, your E&D into the budget last year to increase the number of classes.
For the district, it was for the district, and the elementary school, clearly their numbers were in the mid-20s. We were committed to lowering those numbers.
And I believe in Millville, we added a 5th grade, a
Millville, we
3rd.
added a 3rd and the 5th grade. as
So it
part
was
of that.
district-wide, our goal was to keep the class sizes as low as we could get them.
Okay, I was just pointing these out because they're going back, they're proposed to go back to the 4th. There are other cuts that I did not note, but I was just wondering how that came about on that end. You also said the last committee member that the proposed MES 3rd grade for next year will have approximately 30 students. You also said that there would be 2 aides that would go in to help out. Can you explain more of what those aides, how
Special
often they would
education.
be in there?
Special education, there are students at the current 2nd grade whose IEPs call for aides. I have directly observed those classes this year, and there are multiple adults in those rooms during specific instruction times, not all day, they're not assigned to that room, but they do go in for English language arts and math primarily. So there's more than one adult in the room for those children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there an approximation of how many hours per day? Is it 5 days a week that they go in for 2 hours of the day?
I don't have that information, but based on my discussions with the principal in the building, it's a regular occurrence that those aides go into those various rooms because they're IEPs for children that necessitate that. So as a result, I observed a 2nd grade within the last month, and there were 2 aides working with the teacher as she was doing an ELA lesson. All right? Now, one is, I understand, is more of a one-on-one aide, and the other aide comes in principally for English language arts instruction. All right? Okay. Please understand, I am not recommending this reduction.
Oh, yes, I understand.
I am
but
not
ju-
recommending this at all. It's the matter of, we don't have the money, and how do you look at that?
Right.
To do that.
I'm just
And
looking to
so-
see what the outcast
Yeah.
might be for in the future.
There's no question that that's the most painful, when you look at the reductions. They're all painful. I mean, you were here earlier, and you heard students talking about some of the programs that we have at the high school. They may be impacted. Our robotics teacher is a first-year teacher for us.
Right, and I did believe at the last school committee, you went over what some of the reductions at the high
Yeah.
school level and the middle school level would be. And I'd be curious to know those reductions compared to what would be left for those people. Like, I
Class
think
size,
somebody said, no, I think somebody said like Spanish would not be offered
well, there's an,
at middle school?
it's-
Or,
okay, back.
I don't know if it's just one
Spanish
class.
is a program that the committee has put back into the middle school for 8th grade.
Okay.
It's true, that possibly could be an area to look, but at this point, working with Mr. Cameron, it really does depend on some other variables, all right? Because we have a teaming structure, and, that's certainly in the thinking, but it's not a given. I just need to be clear about that.
I haven't had any experience with the middle school. What's this team teaching compared to, I think you called the other choices disciplinary? Could you
This by
explain the
discipline.
difference?
At the elementary school, we talk about, at the grade level and self-contained classes. At the middle school, in the current middle school configuration, we have at each grade, 6, 7, and 8, 2 teams of teachers that work with a set number of similar students. What that allows is that those teachers, an English language arts, a math, a science, and history social studies teacher, and 6 and 7, a reading teacher, they collectively work with that cohort of students. They can plan interdisciplinary units, they meet as a team, and they talk about their instructional goals. So the reality is it's not self-contained. With that comes an ability to offer a program that becomes much more intensive, looking at the developmental needs of middle school youngsters and balancing the curriculum and the content against them, all right? As opposed to a science department down at the end of the hall and you put 4 teachers, and they teach all the science classes, but they don't talk to the math people because they're 2 floors up in the building. We have a team structure that's very different, which is really, in terms of pedagogy, the more effective model to work with middle-level youngsters in terms of providing that support, and more importantly, for the teachers to really be talking about how do we, if I'm introducing a topic in English, and how does that relate to the social studies? So the English teacher and the social studies teacher are working thematically on the same thing in reinforcing the set of skills. And you integrate the math. If the student's learning a math concept, then it's applied. So if they're doing ratios and percents, that's reinforced in science because the science unit is using ratios and percents, as opposed to what would be more classically called a junior high model.
Okay.
And it's more efficient to do a departmental model, but you lose that ability for those teachers to come together and think of, I'm a 6th grade team member, as opposed to I'm a math teacher.
It's also beneficial looking at the whole child as well. If there's a struggling child in math and they get together as a team and they talk about it, you're looking at the whole child versus, just one student going to math and then coming out and going to science. There's that collaboration. So if there is a child struggling, you have multiple teachers getting together to help that child succeed. So I think it's a definite benefit to the middle school, whole child.
Yeah.
And also, if there's like a family situation impacting that child, everyone on that team would know about it. If the child sort of traveled kind of independently throughout the building, going from his English class to his science class to his whatever, that connection would be lost. Whereas now, everyone on the team would know what's going on with that family, and they could bond together to help the kid a lot better.
Is this model follow through to the high school also?
No.
No.
At the high school, we do offer more departmentalized programs, all right?
Okay.
So the transition from self-contained classes at the elementary level, and there's some team teaching going on at the elementary. I don't want to paint that as if it's all, but the reality is you're going from a classroom structure at the elementaries in both Millville and Blackstone to a middle school where the students are on, at each grade level, as I said, 2 separate teams with a common core of teachers providing their instruction. At the high school, when they transition, then we have an English department, a math department, science, social studies. But we're a small enough school that there is an awful lot of collaboration simply because it's a small school.
Okay. How are the AP classes run at the high school?
How are they run? They're in the
Are
curriculum.
they just within the school? Because I know somebody who lives in New Mexico, and some of the AP courses are offered through the community college. And so kids have the opportunity to take their AP classes through a community college and also finish college credits and possibly finish a full
There are high schools in the Commonwealth that do some of that. I don't think we're there yet. I think we're just trying to develop a little bit more rigorous curriculum in some AP classes.
But we
have the dual
participate.
enrollment program.
But let me explain. The AP program has totally been revamped by the college board that sponsors that. And it's not enough to say that you're going to offer the course. You've got to train the teacher. They have to go to a training program, and you've got to justify and have a curriculum actually approved by the AP program in order to do that. We offer, I think, the basic AP courses in our school, and they are offered basically on a sign-up basis. In other words, we don't have the luxury of running an AP course for 4 or 5 students. We really have to get a minimum of 10 to 12 students to offer an AP program for students. But English, calculus, history, they tend to run all the time. Some of the others, it really is driven by the enrollment in terms of that. There is a dual enrollment program in the state of Massachusetts that is partially funded by the Commonwealth, where students can go to a community college. Geographically, for us, at the lower end of the Blackstone Valley, the closest community college for us is Quinsigamond in Worcester. So the proximity, begs students participating in that. However, we also participate in what's called the virtual high school, which was an online program. We have on virtual high school courses at the middle school here and at the high school. We have 25 slots at middle, 25 slots at the high school. What that allows us is those students that want to pursue a course that we can't offer, they have the option of enrolling in the virtual high school. They take that, our library media center at the high school has a bank of computers, and we have a monitor, a paraprofessional who monitors the students, and students sign up, but they can take a course that we can't offer in our curriculum. So if somebody wanted to take economics, we didn't offer that, they could take it on the virtual high school. All right, and that is a program that we do take advantage, both at middle and high school, to do that.
And actually, one of the things you had mentioned, the, if you look on the list of cuts at the second page, one of the things is academic, $5,000 shared AP enrichment program with other schools. Mr. Dudek had sort of sketched that out roughly. And
chemistry.
Yeah, he was
chemistry.
looking into the fact that, yeah, maybe we might only have 5 or 6 or 8 kids and trying to link up with other schools.
Okay.
That costs some money. Unfortunately, that's on the cut list at this point.
So do you have any other specific questions to the budget? 'Cause we'll give you a couple more minutes, and then we have a second public forum.
I went through today, and I looked at the comparison of the budget from, that you had out on the website from year 2011 through year 2015. I have general questions regarding, I have specific questions regarding it. When does this budget get discussed? Is it now?
It's been discussed since October.
Okay.
And at our public hearing, and it's been discussed ongoing. But clearly, we don't have time right now to go line by line. If you want to make an appointment with me or anybody, we'll be happy to go line by line with you. But, you know, there's 8 members here that have gone through the budget, 2 that just got on here.
Oh, I have.
We have been dissecting it for the past
I
year.
have.
And quite frankly, begging public to come in, starting in October, to dissect it with us. And Joe was one of the only ones that came.
And I will say, because I did what you've done, and I followed up with that, and I will say that it's very difficult to compare some of the previous years to this much more very specific, you know, line item by line item type of budget, because you have to know where, I don't want to say things were hidden, I guess that's not
can say
appropriate,
that.
but
Well, just where it came from, where it went
Yeah.
to.
where it went to.
What
you
took
have to-
place and
yeah.
where it needs to be,
You know,
so.
things shifted, whereas, I mean, clearly in this 2015, you can see this money is going towards this item or this person or this. So it is a much clearer budget now, and it's really difficult. It's almost comparing apples and oranges when you go back, you know, too far. So it does take a lot of individual time, and lots of people willing to do that.
Any other
Uh,
general kind of clarification? I mean, we clearly we're not going to go through line item by line item.
I just had, there was a lot of difference in general supplies. There's some general supplies that went up over $10,000.
Yeah, and
Surprise.
I think the picture you're missing is that you know, this budget, as we went into it, there's probably about 48 things zeroed out that we've talked about over the last 3 months that was zeroed out somehow, some way from May to July of last year. When we approved the budget and then when our budget finally started.
And there
So
was-
we had to go in and correct that because obviously supplies are needed no matter what. And there was a practice of pre-purchasing supplies, which we got completely out of. This budget that you have in front of you, the 2015 FY budget, is probably the most cleanest, transparent budget that has ever been here in the, I'm gonna say, the last 10 years. And it's the most authentic one. So this is our starting point.
Okay.
Call my office, I'll be glad to give you some time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else, or we're gonna move forward?
One question
Okay.
for Dr. Davis. In regards to the non-renewals, they'll be going out on Monday.
Yes.
And people watching tonight, teachers watching tonight, would like to know how the recall is going to happen if in fact we recall some of these people. I know how it's been done in the past, but if you could
Again,
just give us an idea of what you're thinking.
Under the law, all non-professional status teachers are the same. All
Okay,
right?
so we're not going by any seniority?
Well, no,
Okay.
just by the law.
By the law.
They're all the same. However, in your contract, there is a seniority provision.
Okay.
So therefore, the delicate balance is going to be able, that's why I have to notify everybody. I guess can't
Correct.
notify the first-year people. And it all is going to depend ultimately on what positions are finally reduced.
Okay.
And therefore, based on licensure and seniority, it is true, somebody that's been here 2 years has more seniority on somebody that's been here 1. That's in your contract, and that would be a provision that we would have to consider.
And then for all of the new people that were hired this year,
Well, again, all of the new people here, that were hired this year, they're basically all the same.
all the same, and then people are asking about hire dates, so.
Well, then we have that discussion about, let's look at the nuance of your contract relative to when do we officially start the seniority list.
Okay.
So the nuance is there. Yes, we'll be talking.
No, I appreciate that,
Yeah.
because all these questions are coming
Sure.
my way, and I said new
You have
interim
recall
superintendent,
language
and
in the contract.
I know what that language is, but it's.
Seniority is also, the question of, that whole issue of when did I sign my contract, but then we got to look at specific language in the contract. I've never been through it before here, so I can't give you a solid answer, because I don't know what the past practice has been on the interpretation of that. And again, I won't know until ultimately, the Blackstone Town Meeting votes.
Okay.
That'll push us, closer to June 1 as to a point of saying where we are.
Perfect, thank you. Enjoy the night.
The only thing I forgot, is it Valerie? What I would like you to do is, no matter what happens at all the town meetings and whatnot, starting in July, there is gonna be a fiscal task force, starting, and I would love to have you on it, in terms of breaking down what we need to do for the next 7 years. So that would be awesome, and if you have any friends, bring them along. All right. Okay, moving forward, report of the superintendent.
Members of the committee, at our last meeting, I had brought before you two policies that the committee needs to take action on. One is to approve the head injury concussion policy that has been updated to respond to the new law in Massachusetts concerning concussions. We did have a policy. I did go back, Ms. Robin, you brought up the fact that but this policy is slightly different because now we've got the references to the state law and the regulations in it. So a motion to approve the head injury concussion policy.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made, seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
The next policy is the head lice protocol. The school nurses have suggested a change in the procedure for dealing with students with, it's called pediculosis, but head lice, and to revise the protocol. So a motion to accept this head
Do we
lice
need
protocol.
3 readings, or?
I'm sorry?
Do we need 3 readings?
Protocol, not policy.
This is really a part of the policy. This is really the protocol. But
So moved.
yeah.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
The next item, and I apologize, I did not include a memo. I put it at your places tonight. Blackstone Millville Regional School District belongs to the Bi-County Collaborative. The Bi-County Collaborative is a special education collaborative we participate in for low-incidence special education programs. We comprise about 9% of the membership of the Bi-County Collaborative. The Superintendent Board voted to adopt a policy for allowing the Bi-County Collaborative to establish a capital improvement policy and also to approve the establishment of a capital reserve fund for up to $500,000. The collaboratives are, again, like a regional school district, and they are allowed to do certain things under the law. Bi-County currently does not own any property, but they do rent property. They currently rent space at our high school, for example. And sometimes when they rent space at a school, they have to go in and make some modifications to that space in order to accommodate the children with the disabilities in that program. And they obviously are looking to have a kind of a capital improvement policy as well as a fund So it's not a pay-as-you-go, but they could set some money aside in their budget every year, and when they have to make one of the moves. They currently are renting in Attleboro and North Attleboro, I can't remember which one of the Attleboros it is, but I believe Attleboro, they actually have taken over a small elementary school, and they're trying to consolidate their programs. We'll actually have one moving out of the high school that'll go down there. And long-term view is to make some of the capital improvements in that facility. It'll certainly be more cost-effective for their rent to do that. So, if you will, a motion, and the reason the school committee has to vote on it, you vote every year to appoint your superintendent to the board. However, under their collaborative agreement, actually it's the school committees of the individual member districts that are actually the controlling authority. So yes, you voted the position of superintendent to vote on your behalf, but in order to do this policy, it has to be an actual vote of the school committee.
Make a motion to approve the bi-county capital improvement policy and approve the establishment of a capital reserve fund of up to $500,000.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second?
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, the school district every year is required to take a vote on school choice and to so notify the Commissioner of Education that you have taken a vote by June 1st. The practice here at the Blackstone Millville Regional School District is that we are a school choice community. That is, we accept students from other districts under school choice. So we need to take a vote to continue this participation. I just want to note that my recommendation to you, all right, because you are allowed to put some control on it, is to take a vote to participate in school choice at all grade levels, subject to class size limitations. We would not overload a class simply for school choice. It's hard for me to say definitively, but when the class is getting up in the mid-20s to high 20s, do we really want to add 2 or 3 more students to make that a class of 29 or 30? And that is a mitigating factor that we would have to look at. So you are allowed to set that in terms of subject to class size limitations. I would tell you in practice, that really would come through the principal to say, no, at 4th grade, I can't consider a student for school choice because my classes are too large at this point, all right, to do that.
Okay, make a motion to approve the participation of Blackstone Millville Regional School District in the school choice program for the 2014-2015 school year at all grade levels, subject to class size limitations.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second?
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The next item requires action by the school committee. Our insurance provider through the Maya Health Trust notified the district that we can add a fitness rider to our current retiree health insurance at no additional cost. This provides the retirees, which is the MEDEX supplement, that they would get actually some credit to go to a health club. And it's in our best interest to keep everybody with health insurance healthy, all right? And it does not come as any cost. In order for us to do it, since you are the authority, you need to approve a motion to add this rider to your current retiree health insurance plan, and I would so recommend.
Motion to approve the addition of the fitness rider to the current retiree health insurance plan from the MIIA Health Trust.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Discussion.
I appreciate the string of emails that was sent with it. So my question is it very clearly states here, great news, no rate change for 7/1. How will we know if this affects the rate next year? Or
Again, there's no,
is it something they're
this is something the health
Icing
insurance
this
kind
one?
of like to encourage, but they can't, the trust is controlled by an elected board, representative of the regional districts and municipalities that belong to it. So there can't be a guarantee that there wouldn't be a charge for it in the future, but you can see the benefit is $150. So
Is this part of our employees'
Yeah.
insurance?
Well,
They already have the benefit?
It's specific to retirees, but our regular
They
employee,
already have
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
The next item is a review of where we are with the current fiscal 14 budget. And as the committee and everybody that's been following this, we started the fiscal year with actually a built-in deficit because of special education funds. And I've been monitoring this every quarter with your Assistant Treasurer, Donna Scungio, to kind of look at where we are relative to that. So the balance sheet, which is broken out there in terms of regular education, moving towards closure, we are anticipating that that's going to close at about positive 448,000, and the special education budget looks like it's going to close at 403 in the negative. So at this point, we're tracking to probably close fiscal 14 with probably somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000. I just need to be clear with everybody that we still have some accounts, because we still have time between now and June 30th, and you have liabilities that we have to hold the money in an encumbrance that may not happen, all right? And it's important for people to understand, you know, that this is not a definitive, this is a projection. The good news is, it looks like we're gonna be able to cover all deficits, but, you know, remember, we have this deficit for the after-school program of about $30,000, all right? They have completed the National Grid project here at the middle school, which was done over the April vacation, and that is going to have a projected cost savings for us in terms of energy costs. National Grid paid 50% of that. Our ownership of that is also about $30,000, and it looks like we'll be able to cover that in the fiscal 14 budget and not have to put that into a payment plan with National Grid, even though it was a no-interest loan in terms of going forward. So things are starting to break a little bit, and that's a good thing in terms of, so I'm feeling a lot better about the current budget, but there are still a lot of tailings relative to liabilities that potentially could be out there. But I think the big liabilities at this point have been accounted for, and I think we're going to be able to close this budget and probably continue to have a slight balance. That's one of the reasons when I spoke with Mr. Chaplin and we prepared these scenarios that I thought we could dip into E&D to the tune of about $150,000. Remember, you can't spend anticipated money. You can only spend based on what's been certified, very similar to the town. You can only spend free cash that's been certified by the Department of Revenue. In our case, the E&D account that's been certified by the Department of Revenue. But it is a $22 million budget, and at this point, we're tracking to come in around 99.5 or 6 of budget. But that still may leave, maybe as much as $100,000, in potential areas, for us to look at. So that's a good news in terms of where we are relative to the budget. Any questions on that? Because I know when I first presented these figures, I was very concerned about, the tracking of this year's budget. And we had a very cold winter, as most everybody knows. Almost every one of my schools has had to have some major repairs to its heating system. We've had to replace pumps, circulators. We've had to do major work on some of the burners in all buildings. It's been a particularly difficult winter. I mean, I just thought we were out of it, and the head custodian at the high school came in, with about a $4,900 item that needs to be fixed on the heating system at the high school. So that's still one of the things that we're kind of looking at as we kind of close out the year in terms of where we are. But I think we're in shape to probably $50,000 to $100,000 doesn't seem unreasonable. It could be slightly more than that. I don't want to mislead anybody, but the reality is we're not looking at a deficit. We're not looking at a deficit.
It looks like the cafeteria also is
Yes, that was.
Is working well.
Right. I included that in the reading folder. That- Yeah.
She does a wonderful job.
She does.
so.
Okay, any questions on this?
I just want to say thank you for keeping us in the policy. I know it was a lot of tight number crunching days, so thank you.
I also give credit where credit is due. Your assistant treasurer, Donna Scungio, does most of this. She and I meet, and we go over the accounts, and then she will go in and do that heavy work of checking and rechecking. And she gets support on the payroll side from Monique Samard and also Tina LaCroix on the accounts payable side.
So thank you to
Yeah,
Donna,
they work
Tina,
hard.
and Monique,
Yeah,
too.
it's hard to make it all happen. So that is all I have,
Yeah,
Mr.
okay.
Chairman.
Second public forum, anyone like to come up? No? Okay. School committee forum.
And it's what we've been saying all along, the Millville meeting is Monday. If you want to come out and, stand up for the school system, please come Monday at 6:30 at Millville, the Millville Elementary School. Again, babysitting is being offered, so bring your kids if you need to. They'll be taken care of. But hope to see a lot of people there on Monday.
Just to echo Steve's sentiments, democracy isn't always pretty, but it's the best system we have. So let's get out there and let your voices be heard.
I would echo that. I hope that we have community support. I said at a Millville event, at the school event the other day, I hope for dialogue. I think that we need future dialogue, and we need a committee to look what we do at, beyond this point, because this point is crisis point, but that's going to continue. And so we need to have a short-term solution, but we need a much more long-term solution. And this process is not it. And we need to have dialogue to develop some type of better process. But speaking personally, I am a person who is an AARP member and a person who has a child in the elementary school. And so I think our numbers are much higher in student age population, because I certainly don't consider myself, even though I am an AARP member, and I think we have to be the voices to speak for those students who can't speak for themselves.
And Monday in Blackstone, we have a finance committee meeting that we need to go to.
Mhm.
So I urge everyone to do that. I'll talk to everybody I know.
It was great to see the kids here again. We haven't seen
Oh, I
them.
know. That was great.
And again, to support the programs. Last year, we were able to, because of our contribution that we took out of E&D, we were able to switch up some programs and bring in some of the interesting courses that the kids are enjoying this year. And so we do want to try to maintain that. And it's not, an abundance of electives. It's just doing things in a new, creative way to keep the kids motivated to learn. So, come out.
So at the meeting Monday night, there needs to be 150? Is that correct?
I would say at least
Approximately 150?
Hard to put a number on it, but yeah.
In order for this to even take place. So in that first round, correct? In order for,
Well, no, they need a quorum. The quorum's, I don't know, 40, I think.
About
in
40,
Millville, but
yeah.
if we,
Yeah, right.
if it- I just threw out the number 150
Okay.
parents.
but there
Yeah,
needs
if
to
you go
be
and advocate.
more than 6.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's important to, get that word out. I've said this before, I think social media is great, but there's also a downfall to that. It's great to spread the information, but unless you're there, there's no change. So we need people out for the first round, we need people out for the second round, in order to make this happen. That's all I have.
I will be there.
Good. There's one.
And my kids will be in the babysitting.
Looking forward to it.
So I want to say a thank you in advance to everyone that's going to come out to support us and to help with the childcare. Teachers have been amazing, the ones that don't live in town that know what needs to happen for the school that they care so much about. So that is greatly appreciated. I believe the doors will be open for the childcare at 6:15. It is in the cafeteria in Millville. And we are working on the same plans for Blackstone at the high school. Hopefully with the help of BEPO. along with NHS as well, as they're doing for us. Right, Mark Juba, the president of the union, has been great support too, so thank you for that. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. I just want to reiterate again, and I'm talking to Millville voters, but I'm also talking to Blackstone voters. Even though we have a couple of weeks before our town meeting, we have a FinCom meeting on Monday that I urge you to go and ask questions. This has been a painful process for everybody. I agree with Joe. There have been times where I've been emotional, and there are times where I've had sleepless moments as well. But I want people to have the correct, complete information. I'm all for a dialogue. I'm all for a civil dialogue and a debate. But I want people to have the complete information. At the Board of Selectmen meeting this week, there were a lot of assumptions thrown out there. The public should know that Dr. Davis and I were with the Board of Selectmen during a workshop the week before. And there were some things stated last night that just weren't complete or clear. And taken out of context. One select woman said, she was comparing, pulling public safety money versus this type of thing. And this type of thing is the education of 1,300 Blackstone students every single day for 181 days a year. I want to make that clear. I want to make that very clear. I want to make it clear that they were saying that we haven't been very clear about a number. The week before Dr. Davis and I were there, we gave them a clear number. They made a comment that if any additional investment they put in this year will be put to the bottom line next year. False. If that was the case, we'd be rolling in it because of all the investment we've put in. So that's false. And we're going to be putting this information out for the next 3 weeks until the Blackstone Town meeting. I hear all the time, schools are half of the town budget. Yes, we are. We always will be. We're your largest service provider. That won't change. I hear a lot about economic development in both towns. You won't have economic development if you do not invest in schools, period. No one's going to be moving in. I hope there's some realtors that come to both town meetings and they can speak up and say, yeah, the second question I get besides price is, how are the schools? So we're going to put a lot of information out over the next couple of weeks, and I hope people read it, and I hope people question us. And no matter what happens, we're going to start again in July with a financial task force, part of this group, and hopefully the public. And we need to move forward, no matter what the result. But this is devastating, no matter what the result is of this school district. That's all I have to say for now. So I really enjoyed the two groups that came in tonight. I actually asked Dr. Davis last week, please bring someone in, because I just can't talk about budget again for the whole meeting. So that was refreshing of the engaging, creative things that hopefully that I was serious when they were here. That's what we're fighting for, and we need to continue that. So. With that, I am looking for a motion to, let's go, upcoming meetings. Well, we talk about Millville on Monday, Blackstone FinCom on Monday, the Blackstone Town meeting on the 27th. We're having another meeting on the 22nd, and we'll go from there. So, motion to adjourn, I would be looking for. Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, so I say an aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.